can see my screen. I have the Google Forms PowerPoint up here. If you can't see it, can you please give me a thumbs down? Everybody can see it. Awesome. So today, what we are going to talk about is we're going to look at how you can use Google Forms and specifically use Google Forms for assessing students. So Google Forms is a great way to easily assess student learning. It's a great way to provide feedback to both students who answer the question correctly and incorrectly. And it's also a great way to quickly and seamlessly grade students in Google Forms and directly into Google Classroom. So that's some of the stuff we are going to cover today. If you already know how to use Google Forms for the sake of testing and quizzing students, my suggestion is I don't know if this is the right training for you. If you also have never created a Google Forms before, we could walk through that briefly. However, we could do that at the end. So that's more of like a beginner thing, okay? And if you have any questions, please, I'll stop after each slide if you have any questions, and I'll open it up for questions before I move forward. Does that platform work for everybody? Yep. Okay, awesome. I want to say I'm Dana Perez. I'm one of the assistant principals at Rogers Park Middle School, and I'm grateful that everybody's here. This has been quite a challenging time, but the fact that you all showed up today and learn is awesome because I am learning too. So here we go. I actually have several screens open right now, so I'm going to send this PowerPoint out with the recording, but for the sake of practicing, I'm going to show you how to use it in a Google form. So what you should do in Google Form is open up a Google form, and then I have it here called Practice Test Generator. In order to set up a Google form as a quiz, you have to go to the wheel setting right here. And when you click the setting feature, you're going to have the option where it says General, Presentation, or Quizzes. For general, I always collect email addresses because many times students don't write their name correctly. So I always collect email addresses, especially if you're doing it as a quiz. And then one of the other things I do is you could restrict it to users in Danbury Public Schools. And for quiz purposes, I would always just limit it to one response so the student can only fill out the quiz once. For presentation, you would do this if you want them to see a progress bar at the bottom so they know if there's 4 questions and they've completed 1, that they only have 3 more questions left. That's really just an aesthetics thing. That's a personal choice. And shuffle question order if you wanted to shuffle it around. This is good if you want question for each student filling it out, it changes the questions that they're presented with. And the next option is quizzes. So if you want to make it a quiz, you have to turn the feature on under quizzes. And so what you would do is enable it. Once you enable it, it's going to offer you a bunch of options down here. The first of the two options, the first option is turn on locked mode, which would be great if we were at school all using Danbury devices. Unfortunately, not all of our students are using Danbury devices. So if you turn on locked mode, a student who's using their own, let's say, MacBook won't be able to take the test. So you don't necessarily want this on during this time. However, in the future, you might be able to turn that on if all the students are using a Danbury-owned computer in school. And that will prohibit them from being able to go to different websites while they're taking the test. The next option is when to release the grade. You could either release the grade immediately after the student taking the test or later after you've reviewed it. My suggestion is, considering the platform and that students are taking tests at all different times of the day, you would want to do it later after manual review. And this gives you, especially too, if you're going to have a combination of multiple choice questions and open-ended questions, this gives you the opportunity to potentially fix anything that might have been graded as incorrect, but it's really correct, so that then you can fix it on the back end. And then you have the option, what can the person see? So you could have them see the questions that they missed, correct answers, or point values. Since we're having it be sent afterwards, we may not want them to see the correct answers right away. And then you may not, oh, well, actually it does. So this is for after it's released. So when you release the grades, you may want them to see the questions that they missed, the correct answers and point values. This is especially too if you're done collecting responses for the quiz, because if you're done collecting responses for the quiz, the student seeing the correct answers won't be such a problem. But if you're not done collecting responses for the quiz, students seeing the correct answer may open up the possibility of one student sharing the correct answers with another student. So that is something to consider. And then you would hit the save button and your quiz is ready to be generated. I'm going to pause here and open up for any questions. So does anybody either unmute yourself, ask some questions, any questions right now?
I have one quick question.
Go ahead.
When you shuffle the question order, is there a way to lock in, like if you have them do their name as the first question, so you don't have to guess whose email it is there a way to lock the first question and shuffle everything else?
That's a good question, and I don't know we could play around. I don't know the answer to that. I wonder if you connect it to a section, like in the beginning. We could try it, Lori, and we'll look into it. That's a good question, though. Any other questions?
I have a question. Is there a spot where you can actually have them write their name? I know you were saying to have it collect their email just in case, but when I was playing around, I didn't see like a name option.
No, so you have to create a question that asks them for their name. You can't do it any other way.
Okay, so, thank you.
You're welcome. And that's Lori's question as far as, because since you have to create a question asking for their name, when you do shuffle order, it assumes that the name question, she was asking if we could lock it at the top so that it's always the first question they answer versus it being maybe the fifth if you shuffle the order of the questions.
And Dana, I know like if you have multiple classes, we even do like a section where you do it by name and then you do it by section number. So like if you have 76A, you have them click the right option so that when you get the data, it all goes into the right spreadsheet.
Yeah, yeah, that's an option too. I think maybe when you do it afterwards. So before we move forward, is everybody good with that piece? And Lori, I'll look into locking the question, the name question. Now, what you would do is once you have set up your form to be a quiz, you would start asking your questions. So for the sake of, you know, what colors are in the rainbow? Don't mind my spelling right now. I'm all over the place. So this is going to be, maybe I want to make this an open-ended question. Or you can make it multiple choice. The type of question you create will be on the right-hand side, like a regular Google form. And so if I create it as a short answer, I would list the options. So maybe I would have I don't know why I can't type. Oh, answer key. Here we go. So answer key. What colors are in the rainbow? And then once you hit the answer key feature, it gives you the opportunity to list the answers that you would like the students to enter. My suggestion for open-ended questions is to list as many options for the correct answer as possible. This will help with grading on the back end. So for example, I might say red, yellow, blue, purple. Then my next option could be blue, yellow, red, green. And another option. So however you want them to answer it, just think of how many different ways or different types that your kids would answer the question. You might even consider potentially putting in misspelling because we know our kids don't know how to spell all the time. So you might want to put in misspellings. And then right here where it says mark all other answers incorrect, you could select that too, where any other answer that they give you is incorrect. And on the top right-hand corner, this is where you get to add points to the question. So is this question going to be worth 1 point or would you like it to be worth 2 points? This is where you add how many points do you want this question to be worth. And this will help you on the back end when we're at the grading part. And then you could add answer feedback. So when you click on add answer feedback, this is what is the information is the student going to receive from you? So When they answer it correctly or incorrectly, what are you going to say to them? So this is where you get the opportunity to say, great job. And then another blurb. There are many colors. I'm just making things up, so I apologize. You could also add a link. So you could link it to, whether as you want to link it to an article you've had the kids read as far as a review of the content. Maybe you want to link it to a screencastify that you've done in the past so the students can review it, especially if they answered the question wrong. You could also have the opportunity to add a link to a video. So this could be a YouTube video that you found, especially for like math or ELA or anything like that. You could do it, link it directly to a YouTube video. And when the student receives the feedback for the test, they'll get your statement, and then they will also receive the link to the video so that they could review it. And you would hit save. And then at the bottom, you want to hit done. So that is for an open-ended question. Now, before I move forward, are there questions?
Okay. Are you able to give feedback after?
Yes, so you can set it up where, you mean add your own feedback or send feedback to students after?
Send feedback about each question to students after on the Google.
Yes, you can. So right now, the way I had set up my quiz is once all the students take the test, you can send them their responses, their grades, and the way they responded. So when you email the information back out to the students, it will also send them the feedback that you've added. But you have to make sure that you create the quiz this way ahead of time so that afterwards they get that information. You could also do it afterwards when you're individually grading, and I could show you that too.
Okay, yeah, that was my question.
So when you hit add another question, I'm sorry, before I move forward, any other questions?
I have a question. If you don't want to provide an answer to a short answer question, can you do that?
Yes, you could do that. And then you could grade them individually later. You could manually grade that afterwards.
So then can you do that and still have an answer sheet for the rest of them?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So for multiple choice, I'm just thinking of crazy questions here on the spot. What color is Big Bird? And so I would write here, yellow, blue. I don't know why I'm stuck on colors today. Red. I've been seeing a lot of rainbows, everybody in their nice little drawings for first responders. So once again, you want to make sure you add the point value. So I would say that this question is worth 1 point. And add answer feedback. So this is where you would enter feedback for the incorrect answer. Good try. Something along those lines. Please see notes in Google Classroom. Maybe you would add a link to an article. Same way. You could do it the same exact way we did it before. And you would hit save. You have to identify when you highlight the question green, that means that you're saying that that answer is the right answer. So for me, I would click on yellow to make sure that the answer knows that when the student hits yellow, that is the correct answer, and any other answer they submit is the incorrect answer.
So you just highlight it, Dana? That's all you have to do?
Just click on it. So if I clicked on red, it would also, for this question, I could make multiple choice options as the answer. I don't want to do that, but you would just click on it. And when you unclick it, when you click on it again, it unhighlights it. So right now, the only one that would be considered the correct answer for this question is yellow. If I unclick on it, right now, I don't have any correct answer for this. If I click on yellow, it turns it green, which means that's the correct answer for this question.
Is there any way for that to be read to the students?
It won't. You mean read like snap and read read?
Yeah, so like if our regular ed, they don't have Snap and Read for elementary, and they can't always read the questions.
Yeah. So that might be more of how you, I don't know if you can read the question. You can read for regular ed kids. There is a different tool that kids can add. I just think for elementary, I don't know how you would teach the kids to add that extension to be able to do it. But I could definitely look into that. Who's asking me that question so I could get back to you with an answer?
It's Tina Pote, Pote.
Yes, because I do know we at Rogers Park, one of our SIOP coaches, Rachel, has worked with some of our gen ed teachers to be able to give them ideas. And I know that there's an idea for almost like a read aloud feature. But I'll look into that for you and I'll get back to you.
Thank you.
You are welcome. So if you wanted to edit your feedback, you could do that. Correct answer, they could get like, great job, woohoo. And save. And then you are done. And the way you would add this to your Google Classroom. So let's say you're done with your test. You've created it. You're ready for kids to take your test. What you would do is go to your Google Classroom. Sorry, my internet's really slow. And you would add it as an assignment like you would any other assignment. This is my test class. So I would add a material assignment right here. And then I would say quiz. You would title it however you want. Add, and you could link. So let me get the link from my test. I would get the link here. Copy it. Go back over. Click on link. And add the link. And then assign it to my students. All students, the points, and the due date. I would have today, time optional, and then be done and hit assign. Now, once you, are there any questions before I move on?
Hey, Dana, it's Pat. What is the difference between this generating a quiz this way, and then when you hit the create button, the drop down in Google Classroom, it
Correct.
says create a quiz there. So what's the difference between the two?
There is no difference. You could do it. They would generate the same exact way. Some people enjoy like creating their quizzes ahead of time outside of Google Classroom. It's the same thing. It does the same exact thing.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. So what Pat Stevens is asking, when you don't necessarily have to create a quiz outside of Google Classroom. The way I just showed you to create a quiz, when you hit create in Google Classroom, you would just hit create and hit quiz assignment. And when you do that, it automatically gives you access to a blank quiz, and you would click on blank quiz. And it'll bring up a blank Google form for you, and you can create a quiz straight from here as well. That's another way of doing it. I know that some teachers work as a PLC or a group of teachers, so they create quizzes as a whole collective group, and then you might want to import your quiz that way. It's both accomplish the same thing. For responses, once you've submitted the test, and let's say kids are taking the test and you don't want anybody to continue taking the test after a certain day or time, this is where you would go for responses. And right now it's highlighted that it's accepting responses. You would click on, now it's not accepting responses anymore, especially if you don't want your students to maybe submit answers to a quiz a week later or a month later. You might, I say a month because I haven't, in this world we're living in is different. And you would just write a thing that says, please email Perez to see how you can make And then then that's the response they would automatically get when they go to click on this test to take it. Now, once students have submitted the test, taken the test, this is what it looks like on your end. You're going to you'll click on responses on the top right-hand corner. When you look at your form, you have two things to look at. You can look at the questions, and then as students start to take it, you can look at responses. When you look at responses, you can look at it as a summary. So what you'll see first is a whole bunch of information, insight, number of people who have taken the quiz, frequently missed questions, the current scores for the two people who took it, who are you waiting for responses, and then a general idea for each question. Then you could look at it by question. So you could grade your quiz several ways. You could do it by question. So up here, you could either hit the drop down and go to either of the questions that you want to grade first, or you could do it in order. And for this question, you would have, so right now it's telling you for which boxer was known as the greatest. Then it tells you this person answered it correctly, mark it correct. They get a 1. This person answered it incorrectly, they get a 0, and so on and so forth. And then you could go to the next question. So question number 3, do you want to leave this? Your edit, stay. You have to save. So down here at the bottom, you see how it says edits are pending. Make sure you always hit save. Then you could go to the next question.
Hey, Dana, sorry, I got distracted. Want to do it on its own? You don't actually have to go through.
You could set it to do it on its own too. Yes.
And where do we do that? Do we do that initially in settings?
You have to make sure you do it in settings. So when, like for me, I didn't create my test to have Muhammad Ali as the correct question. So that's why if you don't set a correct question, if you don't highlight it green, you're going to have to do it manually. If you highlight it green when you're creating the question, then it will automatically do it for you when you are grading.
Got it.
So then if you did, I'm sorry, if you did a multiple choice or a short answer question, and everything else was multiple choice, so you had the answers set up as the answer key for all the other questions, you would just have to go in and grade that one?
Correct.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But you would have to go into each student's individual quiz to do that, correct?
You would either have to go into individual or question. So let's say you know that your open-ended question is what are the colors, I worded that wrong, but what are the colors in the rainbow? And this was your open-ended question. So you might just be able to go to that one question and go down versus having to go to individual. Or you could do it individually as well, which then each student, so this is where each student, you will see their quiz. And so I would scroll down, look at the way this person answered it. And then you could also add a grade here. So I would do 6. And then all you have to do is make sure you always hit the save button. Now, if you want to release the scores, let's say you graded all of the tests and you want to release the scores and you're ready to go. So now what you're going to do is hit release score right here on the top right corner. And once you hit release score, it's going to give you this pop-up. You have an option to put a message that says thank you or whatever you want to say. And you could select the respondents. So you could select all respondents get it. So everyone who took the test gets their results. Or you could manually say, I just want this person to get the results. And then you would send emails and release the scores. Now, if you do create the quiz straight in Google Classroom, the way that Pat Stevens was talking about, it would automatically import your grades into Google Classroom for you. So you won't have to manually import the grades into Google Classroom. Sorry about the noise in the background. A lot of things going on here. And when you have it, what will happen is in your grade section, they would automatically show up if you had it set up that way. If you want to do it where you do your own, you upload your own form into your assignment. So if I upload a quiz, here we go, this quiz. And then I go to people, wait, so let me, hold on one second. Where do I go there? Actually, I think it is grades. And then quiz, click on quiz. And then there should be an option to import the grades. I think, I don't know why I didn't. Oh, because I haven't released my own scores. Send emails and release.
I think people have to take it before you can release it, because I had that problem. I think once people have taken the quiz, then I think that little import thing is what pops up.
Okay.
And shoots them into Google Classroom.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know why I won't let you. That's interesting. Yeah, you're right. That's probably what it is. It's probably because I haven't really had anybody take my pretend quiz about Big Bird. So
yeah.
But once you do, and in my PowerPoint, I do have the information as to how it works. Once you do it, I forget which slide it is. Oh, right here. So what will happen is once you are done with the quiz and you send the information out to the students, on the top right-hand corner of that assignment in the gradebook section, you'll have a tab that says import grades. All you do is select import grades, and the grades that are in the Google form will come over to the Google Classroom, and each student will see their grade for that test as well. So they will get an email that says that the grades have been released with their information, and they will also see their grade in Google Classroom. Are there any questions?
Dana, can I ask, probably when you were creating it, I should have asked, if I want my students to be able to attach work. So say they had to write an essay on paper, say obviously they had to do math problems on paper. Is there an option where I can have them? That was probably back when you were creating it. I should have asked you then.
So it's when you create your question, I think you have to. So I don't know if when you create a short answer or a paragraph, if file upload right here. So you would click on file upload, and this lets respondents upload files to the drive. So files will be able to upload to the form's owner's Google Drive. Respondents will be required to sign into Google when the file uploads questions are added to the form. So yes. So, and actually that's how I did, because I think that's Christine speaking, right?
Yes, hi, sorry.
Hi, no, you're fine. That's how I did. Remember when I asked all the staff members to submit their baby pictures?
Right.
So what will happen on the students' end is they'll get the opportunity to submit a file. And so for that, what you're asking is the student would take a picture.
Right.
And then with the picture, they could upload it. Yeah.
Awesome.
And you
So
could
file
allow
upload,
only
thank you.
specific types of files. So if you only wanted a document or a PDF or a video, when you enable this, it gives you the option as to what type of file they need to upload.
Awesome. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Dana, do you know if there's an option, like if you gave them multiple choice options, that more than one of them could be right, but they wouldn't have to click on all of the correct ones?
You can do that. Yes. That's so when you create multiple choice questions, you would just have to select more of them. So like yellow, you're just right, but in that situation. So if I did yellow, blue, you should also, I forgot to mention this before, always make sure that it's required, because if you don't make it required, the student can submit it without answering that question. So if you want to make sure that they have to answer each question, you want to set it up as required. When you do the answer key, so here, if I answer key, when you hit answer key, now you have the option to select more than one.
Right, but doesn't it require that then they answer with both of those? I thought I ran into that problem where instead of saying yellow and blue, they just said yellow, and it was wrong. Like if you gave them something saying, you know, what activities does this person like? They did a little paragraph reading, and there were, you know, 6 things, and 3 of them are right. Like I'd be happy with 1 or 2 or 3. But is there a way to set it up?
To be where you it is, so in the back end you're going to have to manually grade that when they submit it. So like if you did it right away, if you're going to release the grades right away once a student submits the exam, that's going to be harder because they're going to get all these like false positive type things. So they would have answered the question to your standards correctly. However, the way they get the information back, it's saying that it was incorrect. That's why you're going to want to send it to them later so that you can manually review each one and you could fix that on the back end before they get their answers.
Okay, I didn't know if some of those other question options, like where there's like the row and the grid, I had no idea what any of those were.
Yeah, you're going to be better if you're going to do multiple options. You're probably going to be better doing something that's a short answer where then you could list the possible options. And you would just list like, so yellow could be the right answer. Yellow, blue could be the right answer. Just blue could be the right answer. You know, so if you, when you do a short answer, the more possible options you provided, the more likely the question will automatically say that the way the student answered it was correct.
Okay.
Could you do something like click on all of the above if you like agreed to all of the above, and then that kind of eliminates that issue?
You could do that too, yes. You would just then the correct answer would be all of the above. Any other questions? All right. So what I will do is I need to find out how I get your contact information from when you signed up for this. So then I will purposefully email you the recording and the PowerPoint presentation so that you have access. Because I also did my own Screencastify's here as well that shows you like more tutorials on how to do stuff. So what I will do is send this information out to you, and then you could always email me with any questions. I don't mind. I'm going to. How do I? Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dana.
Take care. Bye. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dana.
Hard. You're welcome. Thank you. You're welcome.